What's going on, guys and gals? This is Autotech, and today we're going to be installing a set of OEM Yamaha heated grips. This is a pretty straightforward install. There's a couple of things that you got to take off the bike first. If you watched my throttle sync video, I had purposely left these off. Now that's just because I knew I was going to be doing the heated grips. Now it's not very hard to remove this upper gas tank shroud, the upper fairing and the lower fairing. I'm going to put that in from the other video just so that you guys can kind of get a gist of how it comes off, and then we'll pick up from there. Now we need to get this shield off of the fuel tank. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 4mm Allens to remove this shield here. All right, so just to point this out to you guys, you have the 4 side ones are those 1-turn bolts, and then these 2 are actually threaded. So if you come across something where you got like 2 different bolts, you'll be okay. And now this just lifts out. A little bit of patience and finagling. So if you missed my radiator guard install video where I showed you how to pop these off, they're just 1-turn screws, so they're not very hard to get out. And then from there, you need to just pop this out of the rubber grommet, which is a little bit, like, don't worry, it's, you know, it goes, as you can see. And then you pop the front out, and then there's a hook on the bottom, so don't pull the bottom out. You want to pop that down. And then it's a tight squeeze for me because I have this engine guard on, but it will go. I just have to get it just right. There we go. And then it gives me access to my signal light connector, so I'm going to get that undone, and then I will put it over in the pile. All right, so next up, now we need to get this other fairing that is off of the gas tank. And the way that you do that is you take out this 4mm Allen, this 4mm Allen, this 4mm Allen, this 4mm Allen, and then you have this push clip, which is just a Phillips screwdriver. So right about now, at this point, you've got all these in your hand. This is probably the point where you realize, wait a second, they're all different. And I thought they were all 4mm Allens, so I didn't pay attention to where any of them went. All right, well, remember this spot here and go back to it if you need to. The short black one up there. Then you've got these 2 with the collars. Those go into those grommeted holes. And then the one long one that is threaded the whole way up is the one that goes into the tank. So now to get this off, you're going to lift that, pop the top out, and make sure you pop your signal light connector through there, and ta-da. There's a couple of things that you guys need to pick up that doesn't come in the kit for some reason. Just some white lithium grease. This was like $5, so not too terrible. And then I decided to go with Renthal grip glue. I've heard of people using hairspray, spray paint, rubbing alcohol. I'm gonna go with the glue today. You guys do what you want to do. I mean, this wasn't cheap though. This was about $12, and it's something I'm probably only going to use once. So that's up to you if you want to go with that. But this is 2 things that you do need to pick up, or hairspray, whatever you decide to do. They don't come in the kit. I'm going to start with the hard side first. Not that either side is really all that hard, but the side with the throttle cables is definitely going to be a little bit more challenging. If you're like me and you have one of these throttle locks, go ahead and take that off now. And then next up, we're going to have to get these hand guards out of the way. So this is a 5mm Allen. So you're going to go ahead and take that out. And then I'm going to just do this side at the same time, seeing as how I already have the tool. So go ahead and remove both of these bolts and these washers. Now that you got both the bolts and washers out, kind of looks like this entire assembly. This washer here went inside here. So there we go. Now they're both loose. Now you could, you know, undo these ones and take the handguard right off, but I think this is going to be more than enough room to work. Get that out of there. And then the same deal on this side. This side's the easy side. You're basically just sliding it on and off. So this side, you're really not going to have to worry about this being in your way because you can just hold it down like that while you're sliding it on. And it's not like the glue instantly sets up where you've got like a 5-second window. I mean, you can slide it on and then let that back up and adjust it to where you need it. So you've got a couple of seconds. So up to you if you want to take them right off. I'm going to leave them on. Just something to point out to you guys. You are going to need a 12mm Allen socket or a 12mm Allen wrench. The socket's better because you can torque it. The reason I'm bringing that up is because most of your kits, like this is a Mac tool kit, right? So it's kind of a higher end one, ends at 10. Even if you get the ones from like Canadian Tire or I guess for you guys down south, I don't even know what that'd be like Craftsman or something like that. They're going to end at 10. So you're going to have to individually buy this socket or find a kit that goes to 14. Your call. I got this one from Matco Tools. But again, I mean, I use this stuff on the regular. If you're just a weekend warrior, you may not need higher end tools. Okay, so now we are going to take this 12mm and we are going to remove this bolt out of the end of the throttle. After you get that bolt out, now we are going to go ahead and free this up. If you can see, this just basically slides right off. You don't have to go too terribly far with it, just enough that we can kind of work with this area. And that should be plenty right there. We'll give it a go, see what happens. Now you're going to take your 4mm Allen and you are going to remove these 2 bolts. And be careful not to lose these because you're definitely going to need those for going back together. Now I'm not 100% sure if this bottom piece is just going to go ahead and like fall off on me once I take these bolts out. So I'm going to just kind of support it underneath just so that I don't end up bouncing it off my gas tank. Okay, so now that those bolts are out. Also take notice that this plastic washer here is on the outside of the housing. So we're going to go ahead and lift that up, and then there we go. We'll put that over there just for now, and then we can drop this lower one down. Perfect. So get these out of the way. So I'm just going to kind of keep this in like layman's terms rather than like throttle wire, return wire, that sort of stuff. If you take notice, the cable coming in on the top stays on the top. The cable coming in from the bottom wraps around the bottom and hooks in there. Pretty straightforward stuff. That's easier to remember than saying like, oh, the drive wire goes up here and this and that. So to get these off, we are just going to, if you notice I twisted a little bit, lift this cable up and then slide this out the end. And then the other one, let's come around here, nice and straightforward, slide that out. So there we go. I'm just going to kind of get those out of my way for a second. Next up, here comes the really challenging part. Pull down on this slightly and slide that out of there. Glad you guys were there to support me on that one. Cool. So that's basically about it. Like you've already got it off now. I just want to take a second and show you guys this with everything loose, so that just in case on the bike the mirror's kind of getting in the way of the camera or something, I want to emphasize that this is slightly important. If you screw it up, your throttle will stick or it will not go full throttle, which is bad because you want to go full throttle. Okay, so in your kit you will have the lower switch housing, and then you will have the new right hand heated grip basically. So again, here's that plastic washer that I was talking about. So what you are going to do is once you hook the cables on, you're going to slide this up so that the washer is on the outside, and then you're going to have this cable kind of coming up. Now here's where it gets tricky, because you want to, okay, let's see here. So you're looking at it like this. You want to loop it like this, and then you're going to pop that first grommet into that little notch there. So you're going to have this loop in here, and then you're going to take this over top like this, and then you're going to secure it like that. And then they have this piece here, which will according to the picture. This one I'm not 100% sure on. It looks like it needs to go like, okay, hold on here. That's a little bit of a struggle. Okay, so I'll get that back over there like that. All right, perfect. So that is going to go like that. I should have played with this a little bit before the video here, but so you can see it's a little bit challenging to do even on the bike. And then you're going to have to get that screw in there. They supplied the screw. So I just wanted to show you the importance of the routing the heater wire. So now we're gonna go over to the bike just so that you could actually see it a little bit clearer off of the bike. So it's gonna go like that, and then we'll get that other piece on there. So before we go ahead and install this, make sure you use a rag that doesn't leave any lint, and give the throttle end a little bit of a clean. And then we are going to take our white lithium grease and we're just gonna put a smear on it. Oh yeah, in there nice and deep black. You've been practicing for this your whole life. And then we're going to come to our throttle cables, give a little bit on them as well. Nothing to it. And then I'm also going to just put a little tiny dab where that cable is going to be riding in these grips. All right, now you're ready for the fun part. So I'm just going to drape that cable over like that, and then we're going to slide the grip on, and then we'll get these cables back over. And if you remember, the bottom one went to the bottom. So you're just going to, a little bit of finesse, hook that in, and then same deal with the top one, a little bit of finesse, and hook that in. All right, perfect. All right, so here comes the fun part. They say you're supposed to lube this wire slightly for where it's going to be riding in that housing. So you just have to put a little smear up to that second grommet. And now for the finicky part. Definitely just remember, like, keep your patience, keep your cool. You know, you don't have to rush it. Now we are just going to kind of work that on there. Okay, there we go. So that's all set up. So remember, you want the plastic washer on the outside of the switch housing. You want to make sure that both cables are on the cable side of the housing. And now we are going to do that little loop and pop that into there. And then yeah, so just take your time. You know, 3 hands would be ideal. And then we're going to grab this. And then, so if I remember correctly, this hooks, come on now, hooks in there like that. And then that one has to go over as well. And then that one goes under there. Don't force it. All right. Okay. Hold on here. I'm gonna wipe my hands off and come back to that. Okay. You know what? This is proving to not be much fun on the bike. So I am gonna see about assembling this off of the bike, and then I'm gonna see if I can get the cables on, like with this all assembled. Okay, so that was a little more challenging than I thought it was gonna be. I hope, you know, while I was struggling around with it there, it kind of showed up in camera. I'm not gonna lie, that took about 5 minutes to hook all that in there, so it will definitely be a lot easier to do off of the bike. Like, I couldn't even imagine trying to get all that in there and get that screw in there, and then you drop the screw, and yeah, okay, so. And then the nice thing about that little tang is it does hold that first grommet down, so you're not going to have to worry too much about popping all this out like as you're assembling it or whatever. So now we're going to come over to the bike and slide that on. Not worrying too much about the switch housing at the moment. Actually, you know what? I'm going to double check which way this switch housing is supposed to face. Okay, the pictures don't really show. So we'll just go ahead and assemble this one way and hope for the best here. So if you remember correctly, the bottom cable goes on the bottom. Come on now. All right, there we go. Okay, perfect. Now, being careful of that washer. Okay, so now that I've kind of got that where it needs to go, there we go. Okay, so I was kind of hooking that washer on the bottom there. Don't worry about the grease if you're getting it all over the place. Like, that will just wipe right off. So don't worry about that. Okay, looks like it's staying. So now we need to get that upper switch housing. So here's that upper switch housing out of that. It comes in the kit, so don't worry, you'll have this as well. Now is a good time to kind of get everything ready, because I would imagine this isn't going to be fun to kind of hold together with, you know, 3 different fingers, and then you're going to have to reach over here, get some tools and stuff. So I would have one ready to go on the socket, both of them blue Loctited, and now we are going to finagle this. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to kind of support the bottom a little bit, and then I'm going to kind of get these lined up here. And I'm going to reach over, kind of be careful of that outside washer. Okay, that's looking all right. That's all looking pretty good. Bolt holes lined up. Okay, here we go. Don't you dare fall off of there. Come on. Just a sec. Okay, that's touched like that. No, I don't want to let that go yet, because I got a feeling it'll just spring apart on me or something. That'd be my luck. Here we go. Let's get that touched down. Get that touched down. Okay. Now we're gonna torque those. So the torque in the book on these is 4 Newton meters. Now that's about 45 inch-pounds. Now this torque wrench it starts at 50, so I'm just gonna torque them to 50 inch-pounds. Yeah, it'll be all right. All right, in the kit, you have a different bar end plug or bolt, whatever you wanna call it, to go in now. This was the original one you took out with the tapered edge on it. Now you've got a straight edge. So you're going to put a little bit of blue on there, and then you are going to thread this in. Now their book says 26 Newton meters, which is basically 19 foot-pounds. So we're gonna go ahead and torque this down to 19 foot-pounds. There we go. One more for good measure. All right, so now, before I even do anything else, I'm just gonna make sure, look at that. I've got full range of motion, and it snaps back, no problem. Cool, perfect. Be sure that this does work properly. Like if it binds at all, isn't free turning, you've got an issue. All right, so now you are going to pop this grommet back on. I just kind of did that while I was taking a little break there. The best way I found was just to hook your 2 fingers here and pull, pop that in. Perfect. Now we're ready to reattach this hand guard. So the way that you'd want to do that is probably pull that down, get that washer on there, bring it up, and then we are going to get that started. Be careful that you don't cross thread that. You know, if you can't turn it in easily by hand, then something is definitely wrong. And we are going to torque that to 12 foot-pounds. Now, just to make sure that nothing changed, I'm going to double check that throttle. That's good. So other than the wiring, the right side is 100% done, and the wiring will be pretty easy. So don't worry about that. If you got through all this, which wasn't too bad, just took some patience, you're good to go. Now moving on to the left side, we're going to go ahead, take that 12mm Allen and remove that bar end bolt. Now for removal of the old grip, there isn't really any great way to do it. You can just take a flat-headed screwdriver, kind of work it around, get the glue freed up, and just be patient. Like, don't start cutting and hacking it. You'll need a longer screwdriver than this, I just noticed. Now I know you can use compressed air to get it off, but not everybody has an air compressor. So if you just take a screwdriver that's about the same length and you just kind of rock it back and forth, you can work your way around, free that grip up. Just for the people that do have an air compressor though, you can stick your air nozzle in there and you can pop it off just like that. Much easier, but you know, again, if you don't have an air compressor, just use the screwdriver, kind of work it loose. Now you need to find a way to clean this glue residue off without leaving another residue on your own. So I'm going to give this brake parts cleaner a try, see if it'll loosen it up. If not, I might have to use some Goo Gone or something like that. You got to get these handlebars clean, otherwise your new glue isn't going to stick properly. Now that you've got that bar nice and clean, all the glue residue off, now is a good time to kind of map out where you're going to go, what you're going to do, because you don't want to figure that out once you've got the glue on. Now, if you come underneath here and you take a look, hopefully that's showing up there. If you take a look in here, they've already got a nice channel for those wires to go. So what you're going to ultimately want to do is kind of have the wire over top of it, and then we're going to slide it on, and then we're going to make sure that we can cleanly pop this wire in here. Now you don't want to be putting it on like this and then it's like, oh crap, now I got to turn the wire over. You want to be ready and as close to your position as possible before, you know, committing. Okay guys, are you ready? Because here's where you don't want to waste time, you don't want to screw around. The work instructions say to put the glue inside the grip and then slide it on. Wouldn't it just get scraped off and end up in the threads there? The Renthal glue says to put it on the bar. So I've got one glove on so that I can smear it on the bars, take the glove off, and then we're going to put the grip on. Now, if you remember when you took it all off, you didn't have a whole whack of this stuff like all over the place, right? Like it was just a thin little residue. So we're going to put that on, get that on, get that off. All right, get our rubber ready. Okay, we're there. Twist that just a little bit. Make sure that's all the way on there. Okay, so now that wire, okay, perfect. So I'm happy with that. Maybe I'll twist it just a little bit more. Okay, perfect. So now that that grip is all the way on there, you know, give this end a couple of pushes just to be sure. That stuff sets up fairly quick. Like as you saw it when I was rubbing it with my finger there, like it was kind of getting a little bit stringy. So do not waste your time with that. Like I think another 15 seconds or so and I would have had a bad time going on. So yeah, it looks like I'm fully up against the grip now. Perfect. That's awesome. All right. Whew. That's the hard part, other than that. But okay. Now don't screw around with this. Like don't be twisting it again. Let that glue set up. This Renthal stuff says for 8 hours, so leave it alone for 8 hours. But we'll finish assembling it. Now we're ready to put that bar end bolt back in. You're going to reuse this side, just in case you were wondering. So once again, we're going to thread this in, and then we are going to torque it to 19 foot-pounds. It's kind of funny how the heated grip instructions are in those weirdo Newton meters, yet meanwhile the FJ-09 service manual is in the normal person foot-pounds. So just something to keep in mind. And now we'll put that hand guard back on. So once again, the easiest way to probably do that is just like that. And then I'm not left-handed. Make sure that doesn't cross thread on you, which it's, you know, I didn't really have any issues. Like it didn't feel like anything was gonna cross thread on me, but I'm just letting you know, because when you're trying to line stuff up, sometimes you gotta twist this a little bit or something like that. And then we are going to torque that to 12 foot-pounds. Now we're ready to start running the wires. Their kit only came with 3 zip ties, so I'm going to use a couple extra just because I've got them. So you don't have to, but it's not a bad idea. Oh boy, that came off with some force. So you're gonna have to take off your factory ones. Your factory ones would have been black, but if you remember in a previous video, I had installed the adapter, so that's where these clear ones came from. Now I'm gonna try and route this as factory as possible. So what you wanna do is just kind of follow the factory wiring. You can slip it through there, and then you can slip it through there. And we just kind of want to get it towards the general area of where we're going to be going. I decided to throw a zip tie right here, just over top of the factory one, and then I decided to zip tie it in the original location, and then I threw another zip tie right there. You know, just remember, you're not like cinching them right down to the point you're pinching wires, you're just securing it so that wires aren't flapping around. All right, I screwed up a little bit on this side. I didn't have to cut this zip tie off because you're not going to be routing it under with that factory wiring harness there, but you are going to be coming in through this factory location here and then securing it that way. So I'm sorry if you went ahead and cut that off. You didn't have to, but it happens. For this side, I decided to turn the bars all the way to the right because that's where all of this is going to be at its tightest. I just loosely secured it here just so that it's not flapping around. Like, you definitely don't want to have it squeezing your cables by any means. And then I secured it here again just so that, you know, like this is all going to be behind that fairing and stuff anyways, so it will be relatively protected, but I always overdo everything. And then I ran it through the factory wiring retainer. So now I've got the 2 ends over here. So I did a zip tie right there just to kind of hold them together. And remember, you don't want to have this all like super tight, because if you notice the factory wiring, it's got a little bit of slack to it so that when you're turning, you're not pulling the wires or anything. So now we're going to loop this behind all of that, kind of following that factory harness there. And then we'll just kind of get this a little bit closer to where it needs to go, which will be kind of tucking in behind there. But now I'm going to secure this again here, but remember to keep in mind you want that wiring loose, like following the factory. Now that I have that secured there, before I go any further, let's turn this all the way. All right, good. That still feels a little bit slack in there. And then we're gonna go all the way to the other side, and it follows the factory wiring nicely. So now right in behind here, right about here, you're going to find this little package of goodies here. So now what we're going to do is plug the gray one into the gray one, and then black into black. Now these do go a certain way, so you'll have to just figure that out. Okay, hopefully this shows up here. I'll try and get in there for a little bit better look. Now that these are plugged in, you hear them snap, so that's not a big deal. Like, you'll know when they're seated. Now we are going to route this back to the factory location, which isn't exactly the easiest thing to do with all of that connected. All right, so that's up in there like that. That's how that went originally. And now we're going to clean up this wiring here, because you can't have that hanging like that. That just wouldn't work. All right. So, little zip tie there, routed the wires over, little zip tie there. I decided to use a clear one just so that if I'm ever working on it in the future, I'll remember that it's there. And then, so I ran the wires in, around, just to, like, I hate having excess wire, you know, just kind of like, yeah. So I kind of ran it forward, zip tied it here, and then it kind of comes underneath to here, and then we go into the factory location. And the reason I use the white one again here is just so that, you know, a couple years down the road, if I'm ever working on it or something like that, I'll like see it right away, rather than having some black zip tie just kind of tucked away in the back. Now go ahead and trim the ends of those zip ties if you're happy with the placement of them. Don't forget about all the ones up there too. Now we are ready to start putting these panels back on. Don't forget, you have that little clip here that has to clip into that, and then you've got this clip here which pops in up here. So if you're like me and you've got that engine cage, you just got to be a little bit cautious of it. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Now, before you start throwing any sort of hardware in there, remember to pop your signal light connector back through like so. Or not quite like so. There we go, like so. And then we are going to pop in the top up there. Perfect. Now we're ready to start putting some hardware in. Just in case you forgot where everything goes, the bolt with all the threads, like threads the whole way up, goes here. The two with the shoulders goes here and here, and then this little push clip goes right here, and then to reinstall that you just push it in, and then this little black one is going to go up here in the headlight. This bolt for the headlight really doesn't take much torque, like because it's such a coarse thread, you don't have to use Loctite on it. And if you recall from one of my previous videos, the torque on it is only like 1.2 foot-pounds. So you're gonna wanna just hold your ratchet kind of like a screwdriver and basically just go a touch past, like, The nice thing is all of these bolts are just 4mm Allens, and they all are relatively small torque. Like this one's like 4-point-something foot-pounds if I recall correctly. And same deal with these ones here. Now, all of these are, like I'm putting thread lock on them just because I can. Okay, so just remember that these two are just kind of a touch past snug. They're like 5 foot-pounds, so not very much at all. Definitely a little bit more than the one that goes up there. So, all right, everything's looking pretty good. It's all lining up real nice. Now we are ready to reinstall this piece. This one's a little bit of finagling to kind of pop that in there, get it over top. You do have these clips at the front that kind of hook in and push. Same deal on this side. Kind of has to, you can see the slot there, it hooks in, pushes. And now we are going to secure this one down. For this piece here, all these like quarter turn bolts are the ones that go along the sides, and then the two with the threading are gonna go right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all these quarter turn bolts in there, and those are just like, you just kind of touch them down like you would with a screwdriver. Now to finish this off, put a little bit of blue on those threaded ones, and we're gonna go ahead and put these in. The nice thing again about this upper like gas tank ring is everything is 4mm Allen, so it's all basically one tool to take that apart. And these bolts are going to be about 5 foot-pounds again, so just a touch past snug. So like take your ratchet like a screwdriver and just kind of give it a little bit of I really need to invest in a like lower end inch-pound torque wrench for at home, because I always keep forgetting it and then I'm just like, crap. Okay, we're almost there. Now it's time for this signal light piece, which when you have the engine guard isn't always an easy task to pop in there. Do not forget to do up your signal light. And then we are going to just kind of line that up, get that bottom hook kind of caught on there. It's not always easy to see it. It does all kind of go together though. See, there we go, I got the bottom hook in. Now I'm going to pop that grommet part in, and then we will get that through there. Perfect. Now we're going to take those quarter turn bolts, and you've got the one right here. Now we're going to take those quarter turn bolts and go ahead and start securing this down. Now just remember with these, it's basically just like screwdriver tight, so not very tight at all. Okay, there you have it. The panels are back on, the wires are run, everything is good to go, you're all plugged in. You know, it looks nice and factory. We're not quite done yet though. Like, even though the bike's fully assembled and we know it's gonna work, right? Yeah, it's gonna work. We gotta let this glue set up for a while. So I'm not even gonna like fire it up and test them or anything like that just yet. I'm gonna leave this thing for a good 8 hours like the glue had said, and then I'm gonna come back out and turn these on. While you're waiting for that glue to set up, now is probably a good time to go ahead and reinstall your throttle lock if you have one. All right, welcome back there, everybody. I decided to leave it overnight just because it wasn't very good weather outside and it was kind of humid, so I wanted to let that glue dry. But you know what? Giving that a good twist, it seems like it's on there pretty solid. Right on. This one's working pretty good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn the ignition on. And then from what I understand, the bike has to be on, like running, for the grips to work. But if you notice right here, and then you push your menu button, now we've got the grips showing, so that shows that the connections are good. And then if I push up, you get the 1, up, 2, up, 3. So let's fire this up, and I will check back in a couple seconds here, let you know if they're starting to heat up. I'll set it on high first, and we'll see how that goes. All right, I let this thing run for about 5 minutes, just at the highest setting, and they are definitely very warm. And it seems to be pretty even, like no matter where you touch it, it kind of seems to have the same heat throughout it. So I'm definitely pleased with that. That'll definitely help with the cold temperatures and stuff, keep your hands from getting cold. All right, so I'm gonna shut it down here just to show you this next part. So if you have your screen up like this, you just hit the menu once, and then it'll come up with this. Push and hold your menu button, and now you see how it is showing grip warmer. Click the menu button once, and now it's showing high, medium, low, or middle, low. Now I think 10 is, that's going to be a little bit high for the high setting. Like these are definitely pretty warm. I can only imagine having like a set of gloves on there. So I'm going to show you guys how to adjust this. And what you do now is, now that it's flashing on high, push the menu button one more time and it's showing you the 10. So now you can toggle it up and down. So I'm going to go 8, and then you hit the menu button again. And then if you want to go down to mid, which I'm going to leave at 5, but if you wanted to, you could hit the menu button and you could toggle it up, toggle it down, menu button again, and then if you wanted to go to low, hit the down arrow, and then again, menu button, and you could set it to whatever you want. So I'm going to try 8, 5, and 2, and to get out of this menu, just push and hold the menu button. Now, the one thing I'm not 100% sure on this is if you just hit the menu button, does it shut it off? Probably not. So I think you have to go down, down, and down, and now they would be off. So that's just my best guess on that, but now you know how to adjust them to your preferred settings. So there you have it, everybody. You have now just installed a set of OEM heated grips, and you made sure they worked, routed everything nicely, and now you know how to adjust them. Sorry this one was so long and I fumbled through it a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, this is my first time doing grips ever. I've never had to replace them other than you know, just like some slip-ons or something like that. So as you can see, you can work your way through it, a little bit of patience, especially with that weirdo little heater wire loop thing. But hopefully you guys now saw how the loop was supposed to go, and it's just a matter of fumbling everything in there, getting that screw in there. Yeah, once again, sorry this video was so long and drawn out. I'm probably gonna put in the description like where each segment is, just so that people don't have to watch me like fail my way through a video pretending like I know what I'm doing. So hopefully this helps some of you out, even if it's just a little bit. Make sure you go on and hit that subscribe button, and we'll be riding soon. I'm sure of it. It's snowing right now, but forecast is looking good. So make sure you hit that subscribe button.